Twice in my life, I have been gifted with swords of great power. The sword in the stone crowned me as king. The Lady of the Lake granted me the hero's sword. I command the Knights of the Round Table as rightful king of this country. This sword was entrusted to me by fate. I will prove worthy of its legacy. A true king is fearless. My might is unstoppable. The mighty shape their destiny. May glory be with you all.
What's up, everyone? It has been 7 months since the game released a Guardian SSR hero, and it has come out with a new tank hero, Arthur. The Guardian faction already has great tanks, the best tanks in my opinion. Now, it has a tank who provides a bit of crowd control and a good form of team protection. I'm feeling good about incorporating him into my teams, so let's look at his skills. First, his ultimate, Summit of the Round Table, is a great team protection skill since endgame damage involves a battle of your physical or magical resistance versus the enemy's physical or magical cleave. Now, the other part also helps your team stay alive in an unconventional way. Although the enemy's critical chance is highly increased, your team's critical damage taken is reduced to half their current HP. This way, they'll likely keep taking at most half of their current HP as damage, so it takes longer for them to die. His ultimate gives an attack boost to his team, and his Razor Flurry skill, but only under the Excalibur Unleashed state, which I'll cover next. Looking at his regular skills, he has 1 active and 2 passive skills. His first passive skill, Roiled Scabbard, requires his team to finish off an enemy hero before he can unsheath Excalibur for his Excalibur Unleashed state. This mode is good because it enhances all his skills. It has a long cooldown period of 18 seconds, but at least he recovers a portion of his max HP when the 12-second skill duration is done. I've tried testing to see if Yasakani Magatama and Air Runes make the cooldown shorter, but the conditions were too difficult to create, and most battles would be done by the time Arthur can unsheath Excalibur a second time anyways. His second passive, Harmonious Arms, gives him the protection he needs as a tank, damage reduction, enemy crowd control duration reduction, and a bit of crowd control himself, or higher damage depending on his Excalibur state. Next is his active skill, Razor Flurry, which can either benefit him in a defensive way or give him a form of crowd control in an offensive way depending on Excalibur's state. Let's look at his equipment setup. As you see, my preference is to give him Excalibur and Earth Runes. You could also give him Aegis Shield to make him even more tank-like, but I'm giving him Excalibur for 2 reasons. It fits his mythical lore, and I feel he is durable enough to stay alive with it equipped. Looking at his divinity trees, he has many good skills available. At his starting 2 nodes, you would fill them with Energy Bubble and Symbiosis. At 3 nodes, replace Energy Bubble with Prevail. At 4 nodes, take out Symbiosis and put in Extraordinary. If you have vulnerable backline heroes, you can also consider going for Gravitational Field. They're both great skills, but I prefer Extraordinary because it has better use in PvE and PvP, whereas Gravitational Field is more oriented for PvP. Or go for both and forget Prevail if you're only going for PvP. At 5 nodes, you can either have any of the 2 Tier 2 skills and Symbiosis, or have Panacea and one of the Tier 2 skills. At 6 nodes, you have several options. Give him all Tier 2 skills to support the team, give him Symbiosis, a Tier 2 skill, and either Panacea or Recovery for a balance of survival and team support, or give him Panacea and Recovery for full survival. I went the first route of full team support. 7 nodes have similar options. Once I get Arthur's Epic Antique awakened, I plan to replace Prevail with Panacea while keeping Extraordinary and Gravitational Field to help his team as much as possible. I do not recommend using his Tier 3 skill New Moon because he only has 1 active skill, and that is not good enough to make his 2-second dodge increase effective. Moving on to his iconic weapon, he is below average for his Chimera and Anka attributes, and above average in his Draco attribute. There is something unique about Arthur. Every other Guardian tank, Ymir included, has physical resistance as their Chimera attribute, but Arthur has magical resistance. This makes him a good counter tank to Amaterasu, Morrigan, and Nuwa Prometheus teams. However, he is more vulnerable to Oda Nobunaga, Lucifer Morrigan, and Artemis Oberon teams. Anyways, my plan for Arthur is to continue building on his default magical resistance by using 8 green iconic weapon nodes. To overcome his weakness to physical damage, my guildmate T-Train recommended to aim for 3 physical resistance nodes within his iconic weapon. Nothing wrong with going 8 yellow or 4 green, 4 yellow, but I have my preference for PvP. For his iconic weapon skills, 100 to 500 enhances his passive skill, Royal Scabbard. 100 to 300 gives him better offensive capabilities of lifesteal and enemy current HP reduction. 400 to 500 improves his defensive capabilities when he's in Excalibur tamed state by giving him damage reduction, which adds to Harmonious Arms damage reduction. Arthur will almost always be in that state at the start of the battle until an enemy hero dies, so it's a nice way of keeping him alive long enough to go into Excalibur Unleashed state and use his ultimate. 600 improves Razor Flurry by reducing its cooldown every time he deals critical damage or stuns an enemy. Remember, Excalibur Unleashed state guarantees Razor Flurry to deal critical damage. I'm not sure if it counts Razor Flurry's 5 hits as 5 instances of critical damage, which would reduce its cooldown by 4 seconds, or if it's just once for 0.8 seconds. Also, Harmonious Arms makes Arthur inflict a 1-second stun with each auto attack while in Excalibur tamed state. I consider it an alright iconic weapon 600 since it works during his Excalibur tamed and Excalibur Unleashed states, but it's nothing incredible. Let's talk about his PvE performance. As far as main campaign goes, he looks like he would do well. I wouldn't recommend using Arthur for bosses because he would never go into Excalibur Unleashed state because no enemy hero would die, and he doesn't deal out much damage on his own. The only exception would be if a boss is killing your team and you need Summit of the Round Table to keep them alive for longer. Even then, there are better heroes to use. Unfortunately, like his fellow Guardian tanks, Arthur doesn't have any use in Crusade of Edda. His main divinity tree is Psyche, which is one of the lesser favored divinity trees in Crusade. Last, let's cover his PvP performance. As I plan to include Arthur in my PvP teams, I may sound biased about him. As I mentioned, he has a different Chimera stat attribute from the other Guardian tanks, so he is particularly good tank to counter magical damage teams. I also mentioned that Guardians have better tanks than the other factions since they're all viable in both PvP and PvE, so you can't go wrong using Arthur for both those purposes. Arthur works well in an Amaterasu or Oda Nobunaga team. In an Amaterasu team, that first quick kill by Amaterasu will get Arthur going into Excalibur Unleashed state, which leads to his ultimate giving the team and Amaterasu specifically more attack. Plus, his gravitational field divinity skill helps Amaterasu not go into Morrigan's meet fate as quickly from HP loss. Arthur's extraordinary divinity skill will help any high DPS team he joins like Oda Nobunaga or the Nuwa Prometheus teams. Additionally, the Nuwa Prometheus team can include Ymir, who not only improves the faction bonus but also has the extraordinary divinity skill too. Double tank front with double extraordinary. The only issue would be a lack of DPS because you'd be replacing Hanzo or Chiron or whoever you put as the main DPS hero. To summarize, Arthur is an SSR Guardian tank hero who differentiates himself from other Guardian tanks by having stronger magical resistance. In addition to that, he has excellent divinity skills, a good skill set to be durable as a tank, and he can be used in both PvE and PvP. The downsides to him is his inability to be useful for Crusade of Edda and a need for an enemy hero death to bring out the best of his abilities, which you cannot do with a boss. So I wanted to release this video during the Mythic Heroes content creator contest, which I thought was going to start today. However, I know many people would like a good analysis on Arthur so they can make their own decisions about him. So for the future, if you can watch my videos for upcoming contests, I would appreciate it. You don't even have to watch or listen to them, but every view helps. Thanks for listening.